Welcome to our very first episode, guys. This is Cars and Creators episode numero uno. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's going to be a really exciting one. We got a ton of awesome content jam-packed into this podcast for you guys. So sit down, grab a bag of chips, and relax because you're going to learn a lot and you're going to have a good time with us. For our very first episode, I'm very excited to announce our very first guest to the Cars and Creators podcast from Santa Cruz, California. He makes automotive content, helping people learn about cars, how they work, and how to modify them. He has a fully built WRX. He's got a Miata that he just lowered on some new wheels. He just bought an STI, and we're not done yet. He's generated over 8 million views on YouTube with almost 60,000 subscribers, over 400,000 total followers across all of his platforms. But most importantly, he makes a positive impact on the car community. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Alexander Vargas.
Thank you. Thank you for such a nice intro. I don't even know some of those stats, I'll be honest. Sounds
Yeah,
cooler
man.
than I actually am.
No, I've done my research. It's an honor to have you on here. I'm super excited to start digging into some of the mysteries of the automotive content creation. There's tons of questions I think a lot of people have, and I think from this podcast is really what I want to try to start digging into. Helping people to learn like us that are they're into cars and they're into making an impact on social media and making that their career is really what I think this podcast is going to do the best at. So I guess to get started, maybe we can just start, obviously talking about yourself, where you started, what kind of got you into this field, I guess.
So as far as like creating content, it actually didn't start out on cars, as weird as that is. So I think it started up just me and a friend. I want to say it was almost about 6 years ago. We just decided, let's start posting YouTube videos. It just started out at that, and it was just kind of just random videos, kind of vlog style, kind of like, I guess, like Logan Paul-esque, just he was kind of coming up, I feel, when I started. And started out there, but I always liked cars. And then I said, why don't I just try to do that, mix the two, what I actually like. Because I knew I kind of liked entertaining people, but my real thing was cars, obviously, the whole time. So yeah, I think probably about a year into creating content, I kind of just like stopped the regular vlog style and just fully committed head first on automotive content. And then after that, I think probably in that first year after that, I decided that I wanted to show people how to work on cars, but I didn't have a very in-depth background. So I legitimately went to school, not to be a mechanic, but to be a better content creator, as weird as that sounds. And trying to explain that to people, just obviously it wasn't making sense. And maybe it's a little clearer now, 5 years later, on, what I'm actually doing is making more sense to people, and it's a little bit more common. But yeah, that's pretty much from the beginning. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be more well educated on the stuff that I was talking about. I didn't just want to, pull stuff just out of nowhere kind of thing. So that's pretty much me. That's where I got my start. Yeah.
That's cool. So when you went to school, you said, did you go to school for like videography? You went to school for automotive, like learning,
Yeah, I
the
went to
car
school.
side?
I went to school literally to be a mechanic. It's an automotive program. It's called Dianza Auto Tech. It's about an hour away from Santa Cruz in Cupertino, California. Yeah, I mean, kind of in the beginning, I thought maybe there was a chance that I would end up working at a shop to do specifically like performance stuff. I still kind of want to do that. Maybe not necessarily work at a shop, but obviously I'd love to open up my own. But yeah, it's something that I'm very interested in. I've always been interested in how stuff works. So that's kind of where it all started, as far as like working on the cars and stuff. But yeah, like my first year in, I kind of figured, I was like, all right, I was creating content throughout me going to school that whole time. I would bring my camera to class, and
Oh,
people
that's
just kind of
sick.
knew me as that kid. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't have that big of a following, maybe like, I don't know, 5,000 subscribers at the time or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I just kind of carried my camera around school for those 3 years and just kind of documented that whole thing. And I feel like that's kind of maybe where people know me from the most, is that kid kind of filming in school, because that's kind of where it took off a little bit, like building the engine and stuff like that. And I kind of realized maybe this is kind of my thing. I was always wanted to be that kid in class, kind of like showing other people how to do stuff too. Like I'd go home, research more. Like I always want to learn more and more and more, And that's when I kind of realized I love showing people how to do stuff. It's so like fulfilling. So
Hmm.
doing it on a bigger platform and impacting more people, it was just kind of no questions at that point.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's funny. I was similar. Mine was, I went to vocational school. Do you guys have vocational? It's a similar setup, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So it was the last 2 years of high school that I had. I did vocational. I did the same thing. I thought I was going to work in a shop. I was like all stoked about working in a shop, and then you realize actually what goes into all that journey of being able to actually get past the lube tech. You
Hmm.
know, it's almost like that barrier that's like it seems impossible to break through. And
Yeah.
then how much can you really learn being a lube tech in the shop? They're not gonna take you and train you. Those guys are doing their job. They're ripping apart engines. Meanwhile, you're over here doing tire changes and oil changes and whatnot. It's like I had a realization similar to that. I was like, I don't want to be working at like in vocational school. We had this minivan and thing was rusted to pieces. Always doing repairs on that. I was like, why? Like, and he's like, this is what you're gonna be doing. Get used to it. I'm like, no, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah, it's not necessarily what I thought. Yeah, definitely. Like it's very eye-opening realizing you're like, wait, I do not want to be doing oil changes on a 1990 Corolla, you
Yeah,
know, over and over and over, and alternators and basic stuff. I was like, that is just, it's going to take like the love out of the automotive scene that I have. And I knew there's no way I could work in a shop 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and be able to be excited to create content on my own stuff. There's just,
yeah,
it just didn't make any sense. So I was going to try to figure out a way to make it happen.
yeah. No, I hear you. That's cool. Yeah, no, it was a similar, kind of thing for me. It's like, you realize that you can, I guess, make it a career, and as it progressed, really, through those years, it kind of, it really did get more clear that this can be a career. But as like you were saying before, it started out with you, kind of tinkering. What was the first car that you had bought that you started to make content on? Was it the WRX?
It it was the WX. Yes, I had before that. It was like an older E46. It was like $5,000, pretty cheap. Um, that only had a couple things, maybe like coilovers and stuff like that. But I didn't make content on that. The Subaru was kind of the first thing that I started making content with. Yeah.
Cool. That's exciting. And then from the WRX, how long did that take? Was that I think you said was it like a 5 year build basically?
Yeah, I think I've owned that car for maybe 6 years, but kind of to get it to the point where it is today, I think it was about 5 years. Yeah, I mean, it was such a slow progress, and I feel like if people see me in that car now, that it almost might seem like, I don't know, like unobtainable. Maybe people think like if they just find me, how did he build it so fast? It's like no, it took so long, so many hours, and obviously I saved a lot of money doing it at school, being able to access all the tools that I need for it and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a very, very long process.
That's an interesting point. It's a good idea. Maybe for someone that's looking into this, if they're around that age, to think about doing that schooling, just to the fact to be able to use that and and gain that knowledge. I definitely would recommend it. I think you would too. That schooling that you did, it probably
Yeah,
benefits you even to
definitely.
this day. Saving money on your own cars, working just regular maintenance and whatnot.
No, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime anyone ever asks me like how was the program and stuff like that, I just highly, highly recommend it. Having like a proper schooling of automotive stuff. I mean, of course, yeah, you can look up and learn a lot of stuff on Google, whatever, anything like that, YouTube. But there's nothing really like that. At least for me, it really helped me out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's important, to include in this really for anyone that's thinking about going down this route is like you said, anyone that would come up to you now and be like, wow, how do you, it's so obtainable. How do you have this fully built W? It's like no, I spent years and years and sleepless nights and I think I was watching your 10-minute build on that WX recently and
Hmm.
just the fact that you can not only like barely even fit that amount of stuff into such a short amount of time, in a video in 10
Yeah.
minutes. It's like, you'll show like, oh, here's where we rebuilt the engine and it's a 30-second clip. Meanwhile,
Hmm.
that's like sometimes a year-long process.
It was literally, I think it was 9 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
that's
it was
insane.
just insane.
It's funny. I think I remember there was a time where you were rapid fire uploads, and I remember just like being excited to watch that process of the WX build,
Hmm.
um, and yeah, it's funny. It brings back memories, when before I did anything, because you were doing this for a long time. I just now am getting into this. When did you actually exactly start? Was it about what 6 years ago or?
Yeah, I think it was 6 years ago. I want to say my first upload was in late 2016.
Wow.
So yeah, it has been forever. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. Like, I feel like a lot of people will view me if they've watched me for a long time as like a OG, but I don't feel that way.
Hmm.
I'm still like in my eyes, I'm still like a small creator, especially on YouTube and stuff like that. But nowadays, like on TikTok, right? Like I saw you have a large following on TikTok as well, and people just think like you pop off like in such a short time, but it's like, nah, I've been around, like
Hmm.
a long while. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's really interesting to see.
There's a line that reminds me of that. I don't know if I think it's NF. Do you ever heard of that? The I guess you can call him a rapper. NF. He
Oh
he
yeah.
he sings about that. He says something about like these new rappers, that are coming up. It's like, do you think they're new? But it's like, no, they've been doing this for years. And that's kind of a line. It's funny you said that because that sticks in my head. It's like nobody is gonna come up like the rare circumstance of that happening, of someone coming on and start posting and them blowing up and overnight sensation is just
Hmm.
not it. You can never account for that. But really, people don't realize until you're at that milestone. Of course, you have people that will follow you for the long haul. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of navigate this decade, I guess, of new content creators coming up. And yeah, and speaking of TikTok too, that is one way that I guess you could technically blow up overnight. The algorithm is insane on there. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's something that I've definitely been kind of hitting hard. Um, and that's always an interesting thing too, because you have Instagram, right? At least my main three. I think a lot of people are focused on Instagram. You have
Hmm.
YouTube, and you have TikTok.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of like the trifecta there that a lot of people are kind of zeroing in on. Which one do you think would be the most important now? I guess with everything in mind, our current state. Which one do you think anyone that wants to get into this should focus on?
1,000% TikTok.
TikTok.
1,000. Literally
Wow,
a
I was
thousand.
expecting YouTube. Yeah, okay. Let's
So
hear it.
okay, so well, all of them
Yeah,
is the
right,
answer.
right.
But as far as building brand and building an audience, there's clearly no question it's TikTok. But um, yeah, I look at them all very differently. On my Instagram, I feel like people, it's nice to see that day to day, I could post stories. I feel like a lot of the times, I feel like maybe a lot of people like, I try to focus on my captions a lot, right? So I really try to communicate how I'm feeling. And, I feel like on a lot of the time there, I'm like expressing like how grateful I am and stuff like that. Just,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of like my core people that follow me on a day to day basis. So I feel like Instagram's very personal. TikTok, I look at it solely on like reaching a new audience, right? I mean, clearly that's the only place you can get organic reach. And
Massive,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then YouTube obviously is the biggest place to get like money, right? I mean, it is what it is. That that's
Mm-hmm.
that's that's the platform that you're going to be getting AdSense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a game changer. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I talk about a lot with the people that are in my space. That on a day to day basis, we talk about where should we be like allocating our energy towards. And kind of at the top of the pyramid for me at this moment is TikTok. I mean, I probably post 5 times a week, but the thing is, some people treat TikTok pretty differently. Some people will just kind of post until one kind of blows up. I treat it a bit differently, and I feel like I take all of my like knowledge and skill and quality of filming, and I'd rather have like 5 pieces of high quality content versus like 20 pieces of, you know, kind of just like basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to each their own. There's people kind of love that, quick update videos. It's just not necessarily my style. Um, so yeah, I would say TikTok number one, then probably YouTube, then Instagram. That's just how I view it right now.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's really interesting to hear your take on that. Um,
Hmm.
I think a lot of people when they first hear that question, it's like, oh, no doubt, YouTube,
Yeah.
because the I guess idea that it's created over the years, and now it's like, oh, I
Hmm.
can make $1 million on YouTube if I post for the next 3 years every
Hmm.
every week or so. But yeah, I definitely would agree with you. I guess just to recap that, like what you were saying, TikTok, brand outreach, YouTube, I guess kind of all of them, but in a sense, but at
Yeah.
the same time, really that monetary growth, um, and Instagram, I guess, yeah, like customer cultivation.
Hmm.
I guess you could put it that way. I don't know if that's the proper wordage, but yeah, no, really keeping up with your followers, because it's fun. It's funny you said that. I was just thinking about that the other day. TikTok doesn't have a story post. You don't have story posts. You don't have
Yeah.
anything to just quick update your viewers. It's just you need to create a post. There's no thumbnails. I mean, I guess there is thumbnails, but they don't see them as much when they're scrolling through their
Hmm.
For You page. Um, yeah, that's it's definitely. How do you manage that with revenue aspect? Like, are
Hmm.
you taking a hit from YouTube for a while to build your potential audience from TikTok and then try to throw them onto your YouTube channel?
Yes, 100%. I feel like a lot of people even get confused. Like on YouTube, I never and still don't look at it as a this is what I'm going to be depending on for money wise. I never have, um, because I feel like once you start doing that, it just kind of I don't know. I just don't like that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the money that comes from it now is just obviously like sponsorships and brand deals is I would say 75% of my revenue as a content creator, and then
Okay.
25% as far as like whatever AdSense and TikTok creator funds, obviously not very big. Um, but yeah, and
Yeah.
then obviously there's other sources like my clothing stuff, like AV Performance. I'll drop every like whatever couple months and stuff like that, which is nice. Um, but yeah, I mean, I try to do stuff even outside of like being a content creator. Like I'll still DoorDash like a few nights a week.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm
Yeah.
not doing anything, might as well. So pretty much
Absolutely.
24/7. I'm just working. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. No, I'm
yeah.
glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that. Obviously you don't have to get into any exact numbers and details, but so the monetization, you kind of touched on it, which is obviously a huge part of, like, we need to make money to live and enjoy what we're doing, and that hopefully can bring us, our income to support ourselves. Um,
Hmm.
and you kind of touched on it again, but I guess can you kind of recap on what you really, um, like you said, what you focus on as far as generating your income? What are your streams of revenue that you're using to support yourself?
I would say, yeah, top of the line, and this is actually very recently. Like I don't think it has only been this year to where I think I will actually come out on top, like positive, as
Nice.
far as how much I've been investing into it, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
is coming up on year 6, so
Wow.
yeah, so definitely top of the line, and this is like I said, very new to me. I would even say 6 months new to me. Yeah, sponsorship and like brand deal stuff is
Okay.
probably yeah, like that.
And
I don't
the
know.
platforms for those, is it solely TikTok, solely YouTube,
Um, I would
or a
say
little bit
it's
of both?
split. Yeah, I would say it's split between TikTok and YouTube.
Okay.
Instagram, not necessarily. So the
Mm-hmm.
way that's kind of broken down is, I mean, every company is different in how they would want to do it. They call it deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, you obviously go back and forth with the brand to see like how you can naturally integrate into your stuff. So they'll kind of present to you quote unquote deliverables and say, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars for doing, 3 YouTube integrations of 30 seconds to a minute, 6 TikToks and 3 Instagram posts to promote the YouTube video or something like that, right? For an
Mm-hmm.
example. And there's other stuff where it's like, hey, like we just need to promote this thing. Seems pretty on brand with what you're doing. Instagram story post or something like that, right? Like I've had anything from just an Instagram story post to a full YouTube video as sponsored by to a 1 TikTok to a 4 TikTok over 4 months kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's just so many different ways you can go about it. So yeah,
Cool.
it's
So number
pretty
one, you
versatile.
got brand deals and sponsorships.
Yeah,
Would you
and then
say?
probably AdSense, Creator Fund.
Okay.
Um, no, probably sponsorship, brand deal, like AV performance stuff, like that, and then
Clothing
AdSense
brand.
Creator Fund. Yeah, AdSense, and that just goes straight back in, right? Like it's not even, yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much everything just goes straight back in. But yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it really is that long-term investment. When do you think, for anyone that's starting out, they say, oh, what numbers can I look to start getting, some sort of monetization? When do you think that brand deals or brands, I guess, started to approach you? Was it, like you said, it was 6 months recently, but was there, kind of that mark where you saw like, okay, someone's starting to reach out to me to pay me for, an integration?
I think the first thing that came to my mind when you talked about that is I wouldn't have that as your main focus. Like, I
Mm.
don't even think money should be part of the question for the first like 3 years. But this is just how I approached it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's some people that are just naturally more of kind of just like a salesman, kind of like entrepreneur stuff, which isn't bad. But I'm just not a salesman. It's just not in me. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's different for every person. But number one, if you're just starting, don't even think about money for the first at least 3 years. But you never know. I mean, TikTok's a little bit different. You could blow up and it's just wild. But that's just how I kind of came up on it. Um, but I mean, maybe like the first maybe like 2 years in, I guess I maybe had like, I don't know, 15,000 subscribers, maybe like 5,000 followers, and then someone said, "Hey, I'll give you $150 to promote this like page." And obviously, I
Cool.
wouldn't do it if it wasn't something that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but simple stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I all started it out. But yeah, like I said, I would say not even till 6 months ago where it was like actually big stuff where I legit cried for an entire day. Like,
I hear
not
you.
even trying to be funny or over
Yeah.
exaggerating on some of the recent stuff, because it's just like wild, because it's just not something I ever focused on. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I know eventually I'll be able to monetize what I'm doing, and I was like, I know money will be in the future, but it's just never been top of the pedestal kind of thing. My
Yeah.
biggest thing is just like, I want to create content where people are just like actually getting something from it.
Yeah. No, that's
Eventually
huge.
it'll pay off.
And I 100% agree with that, to not focus on that monetary aspect. But also, there is that other side of it where I think a lot of people, um, and it is that fine balance, right? You need to find that balance in between, okay, how can I make this my business? And also keep it something that I can enjoy, and how to keep those kind of separate. But at the same time, for someone that maybe is stuck in that job that they, that despise, and they're like, there's got to be something out there that I can support myself with and that I also enjoy. And that's kind of what I think that I can help a lot of people to realize, is that there is kind of this pattern to follow early on without having to go through all, like, if you knew what you knew now opposed to when you first started, you would do a lot different. There's no sense
Mm-hmm.
in wasting time, right?
Yeah,
Creating a video, a day in my life video, when you have 150 subs that, like, nobody really cares about you yet. You know what I mean?
100%, 100%.
Nobody cares about you yet. So kind of tailoring that to get that growth so that what you say is making an impact.
Hmm.
And I think definitely I 100% agree with that. Don't focus on that money, but there also is always that sense, is like, we need money to survive, and I want to
Hmm.
make this my job. So no, I appreciate you being honest with that, because that is certainly, going into this career path is frightening. It's like, you're completely on your own. So
Hmm.
I remember reading a quote, simple, but it talks about how entrepreneurship is a lonely road, and it is so
Hmm.
true. It is so true. I mean, of course,
100%.
you have friends and family and whatnot to support you, but they're not going to be with you when you're editing your YouTube videos until 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 or
That's
4
so
days a
wild you
week.
just said that. The first thing I thought right before you said that was editing, 3 a.m., no one's
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yep.
Like,
That's really the
it just
honest
hits.
truth. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It does. And that is really, I think, to find that balance is huge, because if you're doing what you, and of course that's a lot of people that talk about, what you want to do and what you want to go into with content creation. If you're choosing something that you are not passionate about, not interested in, don't know much about, you're going to fail. You're set up for
Hmm.
failure. If you are looking to become an automotive content creator because you hate your job but you don't really know much about cars, but you want to learn, that's a different story. But if you just want to treat it as a job, that's you're setting yourself up for failure. But I think that is really huge for a lot of people that want to get into this space. um, so yeah, the monetary aspect of it is hard to navigate. It's definitely confusing.
It's so hard to navigate, and it's like one thing that always runs in the back of my head. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I love Gary Vee,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I don't
I
know where
I
you're at
I
with
I
that.
I pick kind of
I mean,
I
pick and
pick and
choose.
choose. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like
Yeah.
there's some stuff where it's like, but
Yeah.
one thing that's always stuck out to me is something that he'll say is, I don't know, I might butcher this exact sentence, but it's like whoever can, the guy who's gonna win at the end is whoever can like hold their breath the longest, right? I love that. I love that so much. Like, it's like, yeah, I could probably take on more brand deals and sponsorships and not necessarily have to DoorDash, but I don't want to do that to my audience. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's just I don't know. That's just something I think about
Yeah.
all the time is like, and until everything kind of works out and I could go 100% full
Mhm.
time, then I'll do that. But I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do it early.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's huge. I think hand in hand with that is consistency, and just being regular. And yeah, it's a good quote. I haven't heard that one before, but it's definitely true. Whoever can that endurance, is really huge. And I think
Yeah.
having that finish line, I mean, there really is no finish line, so to speak, but having that in your head on that goal, something that's huge for me that I always think about is like why your why. It's a huge with marketing, right? It's like anything that someone wants to sell you something. It's like, why are you doing this? Why? I studied marketing for a little bit, and that was a point that kind of stuck out to me. What is your why? And for me, my why is being able to prove to myself that I can create something and have an impact on others. And obviously it can get, that's basically the gist of it. Prove to myself that I can create something that really, makes a difference in someone else's life. And also be able to have something that is, for myself a success,
Hmm.
for my own being, whether that be whatever milestone that I want to hit. Um, but really just making an impact at the same time as being able to support myself with what I enjoy doing. Um,
Hmm.
and everyone has their own thing. What would you say your kind of why is?
Mm, I think it has to boil down to that. Ever since the beginning, the feeling that I get inside when someone says that I genuinely help them do something
Mm,
is just I don't know. I'm like latched onto that feeling. I absolutely love it. And doing it on a bigger and a bigger and a bigger scale, knowing that I can just make an impact on the car community where I just felt like maybe no one was doing it at the angle I was doing it at. I don't know,
mm-hmm,
just coming up when I didn't know how to do stuff. It actually all started out now that I think about it. When I was younger, I didn't know how to work on my car. And there was a shop that just tried to take advantage of me. I didn't know I like something happened in my car. Pretty much they tried to charge me $800 and they weren't going to do anything or replace anything. And that bothered me so much. Like I
yeah,
brought this part, this was my first like intro year into automotive stuff. I took this part off my car. I had no idea what I was doing. Showed it to the professor and I said, "Do you think this is broken or whatever?" He did everything to it, making sure everything was all good to go. He's like, "No, it's perfect." He's like, "They were going to charge you $800 pretty much to do nothing in it." And then I went back to that shop that was trying to do that, and I said, "Nothing's wrong with it. Show me what's wrong with it." And then they just were silent. And then ever since then, I was like, I don't know, that just stuck with me.
wow,
Like trying to take advantage of someone that didn't know what they were doing. It's like that upset me so much. So I think that honestly just kind of recurs in my mind over and over. It's like I want to show people as much as I possibly can, so no one gets kind of taken advantage of. I at least know the basics because I feel like there is that thing where it's like that like dirty mechanic kind of thing.
mm-hmm,
So
yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a recurring issue, I think, in the automotive field is these shops that are just trying to squeeze every last buck out of the uneducated, or
Hmm.
vulnerable,
Hmm.
and that's really interesting. That's nice that that gives you motivation, because that is definitely needed, and nowadays, in this age, is someone that can kind of provide. I don't know if you've ever. It makes me think of that one channel. It's I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's basically like it's like something dad, like the helping dad or something like that. And
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah,
he teaches like I think he's on TikTok. I might have seen it on YouTube, and he teaches like
yeah,
how to tie a tie, how to tie your shoes, for people that might not have that figure in their life.
yeah.
And that's there you go. You're the automotive daddy for all
No, like
that.
no, like literally, it yeah. Just I love that feeling. It's just
Yeah.
so it's just fulfilling. That's it.
Mhm.
It genuinely is fulfilling, and it's like there's no way. And once you get that real feeling, there's no way I would stop
Mm.
because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that other people feel good, and it's just an ever going cycle. And I know that's why I'll be successful, right?
Yeah.
There's no stopping it, and that ties into being consistent, and that ties into everything else that follows. It's like once you find that thing that you genuinely enjoy, everything else will follow, money or whatever you want, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's
that's the
huge.
biggest thing.
Yeah, I think when you on that same note, when you kind of set yourself up in business, if speaking from a business standpoint, to help others, I think that's massive. You really can't go wrong when you're in business to help people. That really is kind of what every successful business is, right? There's a
Mhm.
problem. How do I solve that problem? And that's your
Mhm.
business. How do you then marketing and everything in between? But
Mhm.
really, to the basics of business, how can I help people? So I think on that aspect, like you said, that's never going to go out of style. That it'll always be something that is valuable for someone that's looking just to come online and to view some kind of content in the
Mhm.
automotive field. So we've covered a lot of information that I really wanted to cover, but now I wanted to show you this. I wanted to bring this up on my share screen here. Let me see if I can do this smoothly. I wanted to bring up a picture that that I know means a lot to you,
Mm.
but I kind of wanted to bring this up and get your viewpoint on this. Let me make sure I got the right one. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
So this picture right here, I saw you posted it today,
Mhm.
and I'll take it down in a second, but I kind of want to just leave this up here for a minute.
Mhm.
This is this is huge. When I saw this picture, dude, I was like so stoked for you. I was like, wow. Like everything leads up to a certain point. All this work and sleepless nights and whatnot. And when you look at something like this, it's just like I'll shut up. I'll let you talk about this picture.
Chills.
Yeah.
Literally chills. I mean, like, I'll probably start crying right now, you know? And I don't try to say that to be funny or anything. Like, I feel like people might think like I'm joking,
Yeah.
and I just try to communicate it so well how I'm actually feeling. Like it's not normal. It's like it's insane. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I walk into it every day. I walk into it every day and I'm like, what is going on? Like I feel like I hate the word like, oh, I don't feel like I deserve it, but it's like I've worked every day to do it. So it's like it's that weird like
Yeah.
I have a problem with I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to
Imposter
explain it.
syndrome. They call it imposter syndrome, and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
You feel like you
Like
don't deserve what you worked for, but you kind of got to overcome that.
yeah, it's just like I'm so used to just getting just for lack of a better word, just punched in the mouth. It's like, "Oh, I think I
Yeah.
got it," and then no, and I think I got it, and then no, and that never goes away, but it's like, yeah, like you teeter to the next, to the next, to the next, and,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and just, like, all the messages that I'm getting on Instagram, it's like, it just means so much.
Hmm.
I don't even know, what else to say, it's like, I don't know. I pretty much have no words on it, like, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. And I definitely wouldn't be there without the people that obviously support me, and especially it's just like the friends that are around me, like the closest people to me. It's like they help me out just so much. And I texted my friends like 2 days ago, just emotional, and I was like, like even the simplest thing was just like, hey, like, can you hold the camera while I get this clip?
Hmm.
Or my friend will like take my photos, and it's like I know eventually I'm gonna get to a point where it's like I'm gonna be able to give them a life that's going
Yeah.
to be insane, right? And it's like, of course, even now, it's like, bro, come to the shop, use your shop, do whatever you're going to do. Last time my friend comes over, and it's like, it feels good to be able to. I know that they were supporting me and they're just like pushing me up, and it feels so nice. It's insane that someone would do that for me. So just, yeah, getting back to obviously my community that supports me, but also like the friends closest to me. It's like they know I'm gonna treat them right eventually, like
Yeah,
on a bigger scale. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really I guess you can say, kind of every car guy's dream just to have that kind of setup right there. Even if it's like, you can go and compare to other situations, but what you got is like, what you need. You got the lift
Hmm.
setup, the garage space to be able to work in, all the nights that you can probably remember, on the floor, covered in grease and dirt and whatnot, and the nights where you have no light, and you're trying
Hmm.
to fix something, you're working on something, even trying to work on videos, right? No lighting. It's like, oh, videos kind of stop after the sun goes down. But
Hmm.
once you have the facility and kind of the space to do that, it's really just endless possibilities. And I think for yourself, probably looking back to, when you first started, if you saw that picture now, and you said that's going to be me in what 5 6 years, it's like, nah, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Not to sound like cocky or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But I knew it was gonna happen eventually. Obviously, I
yeah,
didn't know when. It didn't. And the thing is, it didn't matter when. You know what I'm saying? That's the
yeah.
biggest thing is I wasn't gonna be like, if I don't get this in 1 year, I'm quitting. It didn't matter. If that photo is taken in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, it legit does not matter to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the biggest thing. And I feel like everyone needs to remember that is it eventually I knew it would happen. And I told myself from like the first year where I knew like I was like, all right, this is it. Where it shouldn't even make sense. Where it's like I'm not making money, I'm losing money doing this, but I'm enjoying it so much. And I kept telling myself, if it takes 10 years, if it takes 15 years, I don't care. And I really don't. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't care how long it took to get to that point.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. That's huge.
Thanks, dude. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's massive. I wanted to talk about some tips, right? For someone that is maybe looking to be an automotive content creator, because it really is a career now that is so much more accessible than ever before. Um, so maybe what are some tips that you'd have for someone that wants to, maybe some motivation and also some practical advice that you could give to someone that is starting out, someone that the person like yourself when you first started. What's some advice?
I think the biggest thing is knowing that it is possible. It's not like this crazy thing. Um, so first off, understanding that and really, really, really with every fiber of your being, knowing that it's possible. And once that sets in, just get ready for a wild ride, right? Like it's gonna be knowing that it's filled with ups and downs and not getting it, not getting too high on the highs, not getting too low on the lows, understanding that follower count doesn't matter, all of that stuff. So yeah, number one, doesn't matter where you come from. There's many examples of people that started even lower than me that are killing it. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that
Mm-hmm.
that's actually an advantage, and I truly believe that. Dealing with all those with that adversity, um, I think it makes you more of a savage. It just is what it is. So that's number one. And I guess like practical tips would be um, don't don't try to be like people that you follow. Uh, Something that I feel like I struggled with for a long time is there's only like one you, right? There's only one TJ Hunt. There's only one Alexander Vargas. There's only one. You know what I'm saying? And that's honestly something like recently that I really am starting to come to is like, look, I'm just going to lean into my strengths. I'm going to lean into my personality, and yeah, just those are the biggest things. Is like truly leaning into your strength and and knowing that there is different types of automotive creators. You don't need to be the how-to guy. You know, you don't need to be the high quality guy. You don't need to be the funny guy or whatever. You just need to be you. But as stupid as it sounds, I know you've heard it a million times, right? But it's just such a thing, like
Mm-hmm.
because that's the best way to stay consistent. I mean, you're just being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't try to imitate other people. I mean, obviously you grab inspiration from other people, of course I do that, but yeah, that those are the biggest things. And it's just like know that it's going to take forever. um well, not necessarily forever, but yeah, 5, 10, 15-year journey, it 150% will be worth it. If I only make as much money as I do now for the rest, I'm hyped. And I do not make a lot of money, as a lot of people might think I do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I hear you.
like yeah, of course, like I'll get to these different points, but every single last dollar is going in, so I'm not sitting on some crazy amount of money. Like, everything has to go back in because that is legitimately how you level up. It's like, yeah, like you might be making more, but more goes in, so you're really at the same level.
Yeah.
There's no fancy dinners and crazy stuff. It's all gonna go back in.
Yeah, no, that's great. Those are some awesome points. I definitely agree with that 100%. And really just being able to, yeah, I guess find your own value points and your value proposition and what you bring to your audience, and that is interesting. You said it too. I agree. There's so many different types of automotive creators.
Hmm.
There's so many, and it will never run out. There will always be, with the amount of car makes manufacturers years that there is, and the amount of different, I guess, avenues that you can take. I think if you're worried about oversaturation in coming into this field, that's definitely not gonna happen anytime soon.
Hmm.
There is so many avenues that you can take to get into this field. And of course, it all starts with, like you said, you got to have that motivation. You also need that why. You need that drive. Um, and that is, I guess, where it all comes down to is figuring out, why you're doing it, why you want to do it, and what it means to you.
Hmm.
But you talked about inspirations. I wanted to ask, who is your kind of big inspirations, that you kind of look to for ideas, advice, inspiration, whatnot?
Um, I'm huge on podcasts. I love podcasts. I feel like it's almost like a cheat code. Um, I mean, obviously, I love Gary Vee. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Andy Frisella. I don't know if you know who that is.
Haven't heard of them.
You need to check it out.
All
I
right.
mean, I will say it's definitely not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's just the kind of motivation I like. I guess I don't know. He's definitely
Cool.
a little bit more harsh. Like, I don't know.
Straight
Just
to
a
the
little
point
different.
kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah, straight to the point. I just
Okay.
love it.
Cool.
Um, and yeah, I mean, of course, it's very motivating to see people at the top. I mean, simple like Adam LZ, again, TJ Hunt,
Mm-hmm.
Donut Media,
Mm-hmm.
Gears and Gasoline. These are channels that are just like, it's just possible. It is, and I truly believe I could be there, and I don't care how long it's gonna take. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's as simple as that. It's like I don't see um I don't see what the difference is. Kind of simple as that. It's like they're just humans, but they've been doing it longer and maybe doing it smarter earlier and simple things like that. So yeah, I mean, those are probably my biggest inspirations in the space for sure.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I definitely agree. You got to have some kind of inspiration, some kind of drive, someone that can almost give you a sort of, I guess, roadmap of kind of what you can create and what you can
Mhm.
be, what kind of market that you can corner that someone isn't doing. I think that's really important is uniqueness as well.
Mhm.
Like you said,
Mhm.
don't try to copy everyone that's doing what they're doing now. You ever heard of Think Media? Have you watched them?
Is that like on YouTube?
Yeah, it's YouTube. They have a podcast on Spotify. That's a big one that I'd add in there too, just for the viewers to check out. It's been a big inspiration for me. I think it would also help you as well, because those guys cover everything, dude. They cover, and it's really about building your influence online and being able to make that your job as well. But yeah, that's another one I'd throw in there too for someone to check out. That is huge.
Mhm.
Um, Unpopular opinion though, that Joe Rogan guy. I mean, obviously it's not anything to help out a car creator, but I don't know what the hype is around the Joe guy. I
Really? You
can't.
don't like him that much?
I just can't get my head around it. It's I guess I
I
haven't
think
watched enough to
yeah,
to
I
really
think
make my.
I mean, I definitely don't. Don't watch him.
Hmm.
It's just the guest that he can have on, and I think the thing with him is is obviously the questions that he asks and how like calm he goes about the situation.
Mm.
I feel like I don't know, just my opinion. Just I feel like he's pretty unbiased. Kind of lets the people talk. So yeah, I mean I'm not like a crazy huge fan, but I like him. You know,
Yeah. Well, I'm probably gonna
definitely.
get hosed in the comments for that. I'm sure that it seems like a
Yeah.
lot of people love that guy, but um, no, I think it just goes to show the impact of a podcast, and that's why I'm so excited to have this one, running here, and
Yeah.
that you were, be able to come on and help educate and entertain, um,
Hmm.
and I think that really is it is another way to make a big impact on people is just to be able to share, be able to talk and have a conversation. And again, I'm excited to be able to start this up to be able to do that for
Hmm.
people in the automotive creator space because like I said,
Yeah.
it's kind of a mystery, in a certain sense, and I want to be able to make that open to more people to be able to jump on the train.
Yeah.
It's obviously
Yeah.
not too late to be able to do this, um, and also it's a fun job. It's like what more can you ask for? Something that's satisfying and that you enjoy
Hmm.
is definitely huge. Is there anything that you want to add before we kind of wrap this up?
One thing that's in my head right now is I feel like a lot of people are confused. This is kind of like off a tangent,
Hmm.
but I hate to break it to people. Getting a shout out from someone doesn't necessarily help. I don't know.
Man, I was gonna
Like,
ask
I'm
for a
not
shout
trying to.
out.
No, okay. No. Okay,
No,
but this is okay. No, this is the thing.
yeah,
It does, but it doesn't. But this is the thing that I
yeah,
feel like a lot of people are confused on is if you're just starting out, you have no content out, and some huge creator
yep.
gives you a shout out, they go to your page.
Why am I following? Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
So I respect all the people in the DMs like, hey, can I get a shout out? Can I get a follow? It's like I get it, and I feel like I used to think this way too. It's like, oh, if I just make a video with XYZ, I'm gonna blow up. It's like you're not,
yeah,
unfortunately. But obviously leveraging other audiences once you start building a platform, then of course it totally makes sense. I'm not trying to kill collabs, but yeah, that's one thing that's so interesting is like it's not that easy. It's not like a overnight, like, oh, if I get a shout out, it's just I'm gonna
yeah,
blow up. It's like understanding that you need to figure out what value you provide. And then once you get that collaborative opportunity, being able to present that value in a short amount of time, whatever that collaboration is, that is real stuff. You know what I'm saying? And obviously
yeah.
you want people to follow you that are actually gonna like your content anyway. You don't just want random people to follow you just to follow you. So uh that number doesn't necessarily matter. The other thing is I feel like people need to start focusing on the number of posts you have out versus the number of followers that you have. I've wanted to make that post for a while. I just haven't figured out how I'm going to word it.
Hmm.
But look at that. Go look at people that you love to follow. I'll say it again: TJ Hunt, Dustin Williams, whatever. Look how many times they've posted on Instagram. And then look at you. You have, for example, 80 posts on Instagram versus their 1,500 posts.
Hmm.
Understand that delta. They have, it's just, there's no questions. They put in more work than you. It's as simple as that. So I
Yeah,
feel like those are the two things. It's like figure that out first. Like it's the amount of work
couldn't
and
agree more.
how consistent they are. So
Yeah, that's huge. I'm glad you brought that up because
hmm
it's funny too. Like going on to your shout out point is really so true. People get they go crazy over that. And I, as small as I am still, I do get a couple people, saying, hey, can you give me a shout out, whatever. And what I always tell them, I won't, delete or ghost, whatever. I'll respond to them and say, what I want to see is consistency, or I'll give them like a benchmark to hit. Just for instance, for my personal experience, I'll say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'd love to give you a shout out. Maybe we could work on something, but you're not even at 1,000 followers yet. Obviously I won't say that, but I'd say, hey,
hmm
maybe set that goal, hit 1,000 followers, then come back to me, and then maybe we can do some kind of collaboration, some kind of cool posts and share value, and hit that goal for themselves, and then they'll have that motivation to kind of keep pushing forward and kind of and if it is obviously the right fit, that we can kind of work on something that way. And I think that is huge. Like you said, that the amount of work that these guys have put in to get where they are is insane. It's massive. It's
Yeah,
almost,
people are confused. It's like, do you
yeah,
understand? Like that these posts don't magically appear. It
yeah,
is like hours and hours and hours, and while you're going out, they're editing. I don't know if people are confused here,
right.
But yeah, obviously when the videos pop up and they're in such a good mood, it's like, oh, it seems like the life is so easy. It's like it is. It's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure they're wildly grateful for where they're at, but it's like
Hmm.
it is a disgusting amount of work. I
Yeah,
mean, mind numbing. It is not funny. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It is like
yeah,
it's yeah. Obviously, once you're along that journey, you'll figure it out. It is no joke.
yeah,
It is like it's an everyday 24/7. Making sure that your community is happy, because that's the other thing is like you need a legitimate community where you're communicating with them on a daily basis, or else there is no engagement. There's no thing. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's so important to preface that. It's like, if you're looking to get into this career, is expect, to put in the work. Expect to
Hmm.
put in the work, expect to put in the research. Um, and really nothing's going to happen if you don't put that time in and that effort there first. um,
Hmm.
and it's funny to think about like these guys where they started too. I just think about, like you said, Dustin Williams. I think about like I believe that was one of his first projects was his WRX, is that newer one. I might be way off, but that's just maybe where I kind of
I think
picked
that's
up
the
on
first
him.
like big project. I think
Hmm.
like it was like a Honda SI or something,
Okay.
and then it was like the WX was like his first like bigger one.
Yeah, and I think that's so important too for people that want to get into this space. You kind of need to have that trademark, that benchmark of that vehicle that you can kind of just funnel out content, and make yourself that authority in whatever, whether it's like the WRX, like you have kind of done yourself, or for
Hmm.
myself with my Fiesta ST. It's like, I want to be able to put out content that is valuable to this audience, and then
Hmm.
grow that audience so much that those people will come along with you, whatever project that you're working on next.
That's the
Like,
hardest. That's the hardest
hmm,
transition point. It's like, don't. Yes, I agree. Lean into that audience whenever you have the Fiesta or WX or whatever. But I wish sooner I was be able to switch up platforms or switch up like car
yeah,
manufacturers or whatever, because
hmm,
that's obviously how you grow. It's like the biggest content creators, they don't just have every car for no reason. They
hmm,
obviously did it for a reason, tapping into all those markets, the Z market, the Subaru market, the Ford market, the muscle car, that everything is like it is all so strategic. And I definitely wish I knew that sooner. um, Obviously you can't have every car in the world. There's different ways to do it. Maybe you have a friend that has that car and you can make content on it or whatever. But yeah, take advantage of all those different avenues. Is That's the only way to actually expand out.
yeah, yeah, that is huge. But and then on that same sense, I was thinking as well. There is that investment, like you were talking about. You don't see that back for a while. There is that investment aspect to it where, you kind of have to set aside, you know, um, like for instance, I was thinking of if I was to start off from scratch. Where I did start was a Honda Civic, right? And that was my,
Hmm.
even till now, it's my biggest video on my channel, which is just mind blowing that my first one was something that I didn't even understand how big it could be. And that
Hmm.
video kind of blew up. It took time, obviously, a slow, gradual incline. But if I were to start over, knowing that you don't have to start with a new FRS, the newest, BRZ,
Hmm.
or those are the same things, a WRX, or something like that, or a new 2020 Supra. Like,
Hmm.
there is, the market is available and so ready for people to want to watch whatever car that that you buy, but it doesn't have to be. My point is that it doesn't have to be that expensive car. My first project cost in total probably like $2,500. My
Hmm.
first Honda Civic build, and it was nothing crazy. But I think that is important too to understand. Like, I try to do a lot of budget stuff, is kind of, I like to, kind of help that market, the people that don't have, you know, like most people, I'd assume, is kind of that money to just throw into something out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Obviously, it takes that work, but that budget aspect of it is really important, I think, because that start, on knowing where to start, um, is really, I think, one of the hardest parts to get past. Where do I start? What car do I have? I think just start creating content and maybe look for something that's, a cheap car that is, that has that, I guess, already following behind it. Like I found that cheap Honda Civic and just, kind of did a basic simple build with it. And, that kind of got me my start. So I think that is huge too for people to know that it doesn't have to be something super expensive.
And also realizing that it's going to force you to be way more creative with your content when you don't have the funds, you know? Really
Hmm.
understanding that that's actually an advantage. Like, obviously, we can't compare to Adam's R34 GTR with every expensive part ever made ever. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
it's like okay,
The Blitzo
clearly
threes.
yeah, it's like I can't afford that. That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. But this is the other thing is like leaning into maybe you have a really good personality or whatever your thing is
Hmm.
that's not money wise, right? It's like being at that like that's something I've been focusing on a lot or trying to is like trying to lean into my personality more because I feel like it kind of got lost there for a second where I felt like I was doing it good. I mean, as you go through waves, it's like
Hmm.
I was watching my old YouTube videos recently and I was like, I feel like my personality was so much more in it. And then it's like, oh, I want to up the quality. So then it's like I was so focused on the quality that
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I used to like crack jokes and all this stuff. And then it's like I know it came directly from watching someone's channel where it was like their quality's so high. I was like, I want to do that. And then people were commenting like, wait, where like the kind of that like personality. So now it's like back on my TikToks and my YouTube video, it's like trying to be more natural. And it's like it always comes back to people are really gonna enjoy just that natural personality, kind of just what you naturally have to offer. So
Yeah, absolutely. Authenticity is huge. We covered a lot of stuff today. Um, and really, hopefully, we answered a lot of questions that a lot of you guys might have watching today. Bro, thank you so much for coming on. I'm honored to have you as guest number one. S-
absolutely.
Super excited to take this, this podcast and be able to keep doing more things like this. We're I wish you the best with your growth, with your business. You're a big motivation for, for me, for others. And obviously, I'll leave all your links to your socials down below. So you guys can check those out in the description. Make sure you follow him. There is tons of content. You got like 5-6 years of content for people to catch up on if they're just finding out about
Yeah,
you now. So,
yeah, most definitely a lot of content out there.
bro, thank you again so much for joining. This was really, really a pleasure with you. And like I said, hopefully, we both start to, hit that growth that we've been working so hard for. It's definitely that long process, that long journey. But yeah, I think, with people like you and hopefully with this podcast and other people that we get to talk to, will help people almost to sort of have that shortcut, a little bit of more guidance in this community. So thanks again. Really appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Love what you're doing. Continue success, and definitely in the future we'll have to do something.
Absolutely. Thanks, dude.